Right now at 6, a traffic stop turns into a police standoff on a range line in Joplin.
And we have heat advisories continuing for most of the day today.
Plus, KOAM teams up with Joplin first responders for a blood drive that rewards donors and saves lives.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Elise Snowy.
And I'm Lindsay Gaffney.
It's Thursday, July 24th. We're already on the back end of this month, and it is really feeling like it out there.
It is. I know.
Yeah.
We went from spring, it was stormy all the time, rainy all the time, to a heat wave. Just back to back.
Yeah.
Lucky for you, at the end of the 10-day forecast, we're
Right.
back to average,
Good.
which is a good thing, but it's still about 8 days away. So
Okay.
We've got a nice long stretch still of warm temperatures, including today. We can go ahead and take a look, and we've got these heat advisories that extend through this evening due to high heat index getting up to about 104, maybe 105 out there today. Now you can see mainly just in Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and a couple of counties right along in Kansas, right along our Missouri border. So that all expires today because thanks to our showers later on this evening, we're going to have a bit of a cooler day tomorrow. Not too cool. Don't get your hopes up. It is still going to feel like summer, but lower heat index values through Friday afternoon. Now, right now, temperatures in Joplin of 75. It feels like 75, looking pretty good. Clear skies. Overall, a great start to our Thursday. But our heat index does spike today as temperatures rise. We're getting into the mid-90s, about 95, 96 degrees. And it's going to feel like 101 in Joplin, 102 in Fort Scott, 103 in Parsons, Welsh, and Veneta, 96 out there in Cassville. So I'd like to be in Cassville this afternoon. Now we do have showers that are moving in later on this evening, maybe a couple thunderstorms, along with a little bit of a cooler air mass. You can see where that line is as this front pushes through. That is going to keep us a bit cooler as we head into Friday afternoon, but I'm going to have a look at your full forecast coming up.
All right, Lindsay, thanks. We'll catch you in just a bit. What began as a traffic stop turns into a police standoff that ties up traffic on Joplin's busiest street. According to Joplin Police, a patrol officer recognized this man, Mark Treist of Carthage, in the Lowe's parking lot. Now, he had active warrants from Carthage, and the officer tried to stop Treist, but he left the lot in his vehicle. He ended up parking in the lot of the Pinnacle Bank across Range Line. Police say Treist initially refused to get out of the truck. That's when officers saw a second person inside of the vehicle, Sean Gillis of Webb City. Gillis also refused to cooperate. Treist got out of the truck after more officers arrived. Officers learned that Gillis had a gun, prompting officers to call in JPD's SWAT team. Gillis eventually got out the truck and was taken into custody. He's arrested for resisting arrest and not cooperating with the officer for information. Authorities file formal charges against the suspect in a DUI crash that injured a PSU student. This suspect is 39-year-old Jared Query of Fort Scott, Kansas. He's now charged with aggravated battery while driving under the influence. Authorities say this is his third DUI offense. He's also charged with driving while suspended for the second time. Other charges: transportation of liquor in an open container and no proof of vehicle insurance. He's accused in a crash that injured PSU softball player Kendall Forbes in Bourbon County, Kansas, Sunday night. In a social media post, her mother says Kendall is hospitalized in Kansas City and her conditions have been improving. A news release from PSU Athletics Director Jim Johnson says, quote, "The thoughts and prayers of Gorilla Softball and all of Gorilla Nation remain with Kendall and her family during this time. There has been a tremendous outpouring of love and support for Kendall, and we encourage that to continue as we strive for healing and her full recovery." And of course, to be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store free of charge. All you have to do is search for the KOAM News app. Well, there's still plenty of spots open for the KOAM sponsored Boots, Badges, and Bandages blood drive with Joplin first responders happening tomorrow. It's your chance to help support those in need during a critical time of year. KOAM Samantha Walker has the details.
A friendly competition between Joplin Police, Fire, and EMS hopes to inspire the community to give back. As the first responders compete to have the most donations, the Boots, Badges, and Bandages blood drive helps support the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks.
It draws the need to what we need in the blood industry, because we need blood coming in at all times. People are traveling and on vacations, so we need that blood coming in, but it also spotlights the amazing work that our first responders do each and every day. So it's a wonderful thing for both parties.
On average, the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks needs 200 pints of blood every day. High school and college blood drives account for nearly 50% of the blood center supply, so during the summer months, donations dip.
It's a challenging time, like the summertime, kind of in the same thing with wintertime. Those difference in people's schedules and activities and vacations and holidays.
And this blood drive is happening at a critical time for donations during the summer months when they see an increase in need.
We are learning in the industry, this is actually called like the 100 most dangerous days during the summer, but that totally makes sense. More travel, more vacations, accidents unfortunately still happen, and we've got to be prepared for that, as well as the cancer patients and the heart patients that are needing the units of blood and blood products every day in their treatments.
The Blood Center says these donations stay in your community. They use local donors to help local patients, supplying blood for over 40 area hospitals. Making a donation is a way to help your community directly, 1 pint at a time.
We want to help each other and support each other, and when you have these kind of events and you tell people why it's so important, and they come out of the woodwork to support their fellow man, that hour of your time will give someone else a lifetime.
Reporting in Joplin, Samantha Walker, KWM News.
At the Boots, Badges, and Bandages blood drive, every donor receives a first responders t-shirt, a Super Splash Day passport worth $45, and enters to win a $10,000 dream vacation. You can learn how you can donate on our website. That's kwmnewsnow.com. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, nearly 3 years after the Idaho student murders, Brian Koberger accepts a plea deal and avoids the death penalty. Plus, a new study reveals a troubling connection between teen vaping and higher rates of depression and anxiety. Plus, Lindsay will have a look at your 10-day forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Well, topping Nation Watch, yesterday afternoon, a judge in Boise, Idaho sentenced Brian Koberger to life in prison without parole for the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. The 30-year-old criminology student had the opportunity to speak at the hearing, but chose not to. Andres Gutierrez reports from outside the courthouse.
I will call you what you are: sociopath, psychopath, murderer.
One after another, the family and friends of 4 murdered University of Idaho students gave emotional testimony as they came face to face with their loved one's killer.
Because of him, 4 beautiful, genuine, compassionate people were taken from this world for no reason.
It's been nearly 3 years since Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Zaina Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were found stabbed to death at their off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
Earlier this month, Brian Koberger accepted a plea deal that took the death penalty off the table, but keeps him in prison for the rest of his life.
We support the plea agreement. Society needs to be protected against this evil.
Heading into today's sentencing, there were so many questions surrounding this case, including the motive and the details of the killings.
I have forgiven you. And anytime you want to talk and tell me what happened, get my number. I'm here. No judgment. Because I do have answers or questions that I want you to answer.
The father of Kaylee Gonzalez turned the podium to speak directly to his daughter's murderer, who showed no emotion during today's heart-wrenching testimony.
Today we are here to prove to the world that you picked the wrong families.
As part of the deal, Koberger, a 30-year-old criminology student, also waived his right to appeal. Andres Gutierrez, CBS News, Boise, Idaho.
The judge also ordered Koberger to pay $270,000 in fines and civil penalties. And still to come, a Sundance award-winning documentary opens this weekend, bringing Ukrainian soldiers' stories to American audiences. Plus, Lindsay returns with another look at your Thursday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Well, two very different international films, each with an impressive pedigree, are coming to the U.S. David Daniel has the details in today's Hollywood Minute.
Time to cut you down to size! He's not exactly your average kid.
The fantasy sequel, Neja 2, is the year's biggest hit, grossing a reported $2.2 billion worldwide, the highest grossing movie in Chinese history and the highest grossing non-English film ever. Now the trailer is out for an English-dubbed version headed to U.S. theaters, including IMAX and 3D screenings beginning August 22nd.
Ukrainian forces have now launched their much-talked-about counteroffensive.
Expected to be the biggest military operation in Europe since World War II.
The Oscar-winning director of 20 Days in Mariupol returns with 2,000 Miles to Andriivka, showing Ukrainian soldiers battling through a heavily fortified forest on a mission to retake a Russian-occupied village. The film won the Best Director prize at Sundance this year. It opens in New York Friday, with more cities to follow, and will air on PBS Frontline this fall. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Well, certainly looks like some incredible and important films there. Let's take it over now to Lindsay with a quick look at your forecast.
Well, we have a gorgeous sunrise going on out there. A couple of clouds pushing into the area as well. But it is a nice start. Temperatures in the mid-70s right now, but they're going to get up to the mid-90s with heat index values in the low hundreds. So we do still have heat advisories issued for most of our counties, all of our counties in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, and a few out there in southeastern Kansas right along the Missouri border. And that extends until Thursday this evening, and then it drops off because we have a bit of a cooler day on Friday. I'll have those details coming up. Well, we do have a pretty nice start to our day. Taking a look at downtown Pittsburgh, a nice little sunrise out there. Still low traffic. Now taking a look at 7th and Rangeline, get a little bit of a better shot of that sunrise. You can see some clouds pushing in. Those are not going to be sticking around for most of the day, but they are joining us for the morning hours. Now later on this afternoon, as all the clouds start to burn off, we do still have our heat advisories in effect due to high temperatures, high heat index. That's going to continue through this evening, and then our heat advisories expire because we do have a cooler day tomorrow comparative to what we've experienced for most of the week. And that's due to a few showers that are going to be moving in. You can see them right along just outside of Wichita. They'll be moving in later on tonight after about 9 p.m. That's going to bring cooler weather for us as we get into Friday. Now, current temperature 73 degrees out in Pittsburgh, and it feels like 73, so we are starting off pretty well. Dew points are high, though, so it's still feeling pretty muggy and humid outside. Nice out there in Neosho, Anderson, Cassville, mid-60 degree range. Anything north of I-44, we're looking at the low 70s, and anything 65 to 75, it's that sticky to muggy range. So it's going to be humid for most of the day. That's what's driving our heat index up. As you can see, it feels like 80 out in Yates Center, 79 in Neodesha, 78 in Independence. But for the rest of us with lower dew points, it feels like what the actual temperature is outside. So that's what we can experience for most of the day. As these temperatures start to rise, you can see we're in the upper 70s by 8 a.m., so just a couple of hours, and then getting into the upper 80s near 90 by 11 a.m. So we're warming up pretty quickly, getting to about 95 for our high, with the heat index up to 104. That's why we still have our heat advisories issued for most of the area. And then we also see those isolated thunderstorm chances later on this evening. Now our heat index for most of us sticking around 100 to 103, with 104 being where we're capping out at. 101 in Joplin is what's going to feel like outside, 103 in Welsh, Veneta, Nowata, 99 in Lockwood, not too bad, 101 in Carthage. Now, as we head later into the evening, you can see where our front is, bringing cooler air into the region. Later on Thursday night, so it's about 11 p.m. tonight, Getting into Friday afternoon, our heat index is much lower thanks to our cooler air mass that moved in later on this evening. 97 in Joplin, 100 Baxter Springs, Miami, Grove, 96 in Iola. Not too bad. Now, we do start to warm right back up though on Saturday and Sunday, so it's not long-lived, but it'll be a bit of a nicer break. Now, taking a look at our future track. Got a few clouds moving into southeastern Kansas through this evening, then getting into this afternoon, sunny skies until our showers start to push in. Very isolated threat you can see out in southeastern Kansas, up near Fort Scott, maybe Bourbon, and out near Yates Center. Just a couple of these shower chances. They do move back in for Friday morning, so 7 a.m. could see a couple more isolated shower chances, again, just in southeastern Kansas through the morning hours on Friday, lingering along. Not looking at a severe threat there, but it is going to keep us a bit cooler with our temperatures still reaching mid-90s, but our heat index is going to be lower. Now, we warm back up by next week, and then next weekend, back down to average. So we got an end in sight for all these hot temperatures, but that's a look at your forecast. Let's go over to Elise with Health Watch.
All right, Lindsay, thanks. Well, researchers say they may know the reason the current bird flu outbreak hasn't been as deadly to humans as previous outbreaks. A study by Penn State found that immunity to a common seasonal flu virus also offers protection from severe illness from H5N1, also known as bird flu. Typically, bird flu kills more than half of the people it infects, but the current outbreak is causing mostly mild symptoms. And teens who smoke and vape have higher rates of depression and anxiety. A study from West Virginia University looked at data on 60,000 middle and high school students and found about 1 in 5 had used tobacco products. Among that group, more than a quarter reported experiencing depression and anxiety, higher than students who didn't smoke. Now, while the cause is unclear, researchers say there is an association between tobacco use and mental health issues. Well, when it comes to improving your health by walking, the magic number may be 7,000 steps a day. New research in The Lancet that reviewed nearly 60 previous studies found people who walked 7,000 steps a day had a 47% lower risk of death, a 25% lower risk of cardiovascular disease, and a 6% lower risk of cancer. But even 4,000 steps daily had some benefits. Researchers say 7,000 steps per day may be a more realistic target than the 10,000 that has been the unofficial target for years. Well, it's a disease that's often overlooked by men. Osteoporosis weakens bones, causing them to be brittle and to break easier. And the condition doesn't discriminate based on gender. In today's Health Minute, why men should also focus on bone health.
At 40 years old, Brad Barbin was prescribed steroids for a condition. Because of that medication, he was told his bone health was at risk, something he'd never thought about before.
I had played football and rugby after college, and so never really worried about breaking bones until somebody says, yours are at risk for fractures, if not worse.
Because of that, Barbin says he started walking 3 to 5 miles a day to help maintain bone strength. Regular exercise and resistance training can help prevent osteoporosis, says Dr. Paul Lewis with the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center.
Exercise is medicine.
Lewis says some in the U.S. don't see bone density as a top health concern, but it can significantly impact a person's life, especially as they age.
If you have the diagnosis of osteoporosis, you're 4.5 times increased risk of a spinal fracture. And men particularly, they have more complications and more poor outcomes after an osteoporotic fracture than women.
Now at age 68, Barbin says he feels great and encourages all men to focus on bone health.
The best thing you can do is do your annual checkup. Listen to them when they tell you you need to take a bone density test. Just do it, and you have a much better idea of what your next 10 years are going to look like.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. Stick around. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, the Carthage High School Ag program gets a major boost with new land for crops and farming equipment near campus.
And we have heat advisories through this evening, plus some thunderstorm chances in the forecast.
Plus, cattle prices soar in southwest Missouri, and one local farmer explains why your beef costs more at the grocery store.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Lindsay Gaffney.
And it is Thursday in our last full week of July 24th. The summer is sneaking up, but along with the heat, the heat snuck up. It was like boom.
It did. I mean, we went from, it felt like spring, never ending spring, to jumping straight into summertime.
Really
there was no in between.
Nope.
I'm here to tell you there's good news at the end of our forecast, end of our 10-day forecast. We still have another week, week and a half to get through before we get to enjoy some of the cooler temperatures.
But they're on their way.
Yeah, by cooler I just mean low 90s. Well, not too
It sounds nice
cool.
right now.
Well, yep, today we're still in the mid 90s, heat index in the low hundreds. Let's go ahead and take a look. We've got heat advisories that extend until this evening in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, and along with a couple of these counties out there in Kansas, right along our Kansas and Missouri border. Now, we've got a really gorgeous sunrise going on out there. 7th and range line, super pretty. A few clouds pushing in as well. Those aren't going to be long-lived. They're clearing out pretty quickly. You can see temperatures about 75 in the Joplin area, and it feels like 75. This is not going to be the theme for the day. It is going to feel way warmer than the actual temperatures. So, by our high for the day, we're getting to about 95 degrees, and it's going to feel like 101 in Joplin, 102 in Pittsburgh, Oswego, 103 in Parsons, Fredonia, and Sedan, 99 in Lockwood, 94 in Aurora, so a little bit better out there in our eastern counties. We do have a front that pushes through and cools us off for Friday. Now you can see storms already out there to the west of Wichita. That's not really going to affect us just yet. As those push in, they dissipate for us, but we do have a few more showers and thunderstorm chances moving in later on this evening. I'll have all those details coming up.
All right, Lindsay, thanks. Well, the Carthage R9 Board of Education has announced an expansion to its district. 25 acres of land located east in close proximity of the high school campus will be used as space for the high school's agriculture program. Potential plans include putting in a gravel parking lot, perimeter fencing, crops, essential farming equipment, and an equipment shed. While the school district has no immediate plans for any full-scale development on that land, the district is grateful for the expansion.
The priorities for our school board is not necessarily expansion, but when an opportunity comes along to better the school district, we're obviously going to look into it. So it's an incredible opportunity for our students. They'll be able to just walk outside of their classroom and have access to the grounds where we can keep all of this.
The land was sold below market value for $400,000 thanks to the help of Bill and Laura Phelps, who are big supporters of the Carthage School District. Well, Connect-A-Culture is announcing its 2025-2026 season featuring a mix of national acts and local favorites. The lineup includes 3 series, Curtains Up, Cornell, and Ignite, with performances at the Cornell Complex in Joplin. Organizers say the new season is designed to engage with the community and highlight a range of talent.
Our artists are always just really wonderful. They're great people. We love working with them. A lot of times people are surprised by that, but that's just what you're going to get when you come to a Connect-A-Culture show. You're going to get a really quality artist, you're going to get your money's worth, and you're going to want to come back.
Now we have more details, including performance dates and ticket prices, on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, even with the heat and humidity sticking around, the 89th annual Ozark Empire Fair will kick off with farmers and ranchers arriving to set up and show off their top livestock. Now, just like last year, there's plenty of precautions in place to help keep their cool as the fair heats up. For smaller livestock like poultry and rabbits, there'll be an air-conditioned space. For larger livestock, farmers have their own fans set up with water and feed for the animals. And not only do organizers say the barns to house the cattle. They also have plenty of big fans and are well ventilated. The fairgrounds has another layer of safety ready to go.
We do have a state vet that's on site all the time. The state vet comes in and checks all those animals, and they have to have proper identification and everything. So there's protocols to the animals, just like the health department to our concession stands. So.
And the fair isn't forgetting about visitors when it comes to keeping cool. Organizers are reminding people the E-Plex Wilson Logistics Arena and some food stands have air conditioning to help beat the heat. Plus, vendors will have refreshments available along with patrolling law enforcement and first aid to keep people safe. Well, beef prices have increased due to supply and demand. KOAM's Ty Parks has this story with a local cattle rancher.
It's tough. It's very expensive. If you're not in it, it's extremely hard to get in it. Right now, it's so hard to purchase cattle because they're so high. And then once you do get cattle, where are you going to sell them? Are you going to process them and sell them at a farmer's market or at a grocery store, or where are you going to sell them?
According to the weekly market summary released on July 21st, Southwest Missouri steers are selling higher, with the most on heifers under 625 pounds. Sam Cooper of Stormy Farms believes today's prices are due to a high demand during COVID.
And they started doing things with their food. And people started looking at grass-fed beef, grass-fed, pasture-raised, all of these different things versus store-bought stuff. And when all that was going on, the market got flooded with animals because everyone was butchering everything they could because they didn't know what was going on with the world.
Now, some years after COVID and a drought in 2022 that caused the prices of hay to increase.
Well, now we're in a position where we're having to raise our cattle back and restock everything because now everybody wants cows, but we don't have any. And since we don't have any, the few that we have, supply and demand, causes the price of beef to go up even more.
With the increase of input costs and with the increase in demand, Sam Cooper is still hopeful for the future.
Never going to leave. I don't care what the money adds up or how it adds up, where it comes out. I'm going to be a farmer for the rest of my days as long as I can be out here in the grass and the sunshine. This is what I want to do.
Jasper County, Ty Parks, KOAM News.
Now, some in the industry believe increasing supply could bring down the price of beef in the future. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. A new Missouri law could protect your digital life in the afterlife. Plus, 3 major pool companies recall above-ground pools after 9 children drowned using straps to climb into water. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Well, average home price insurance policy costs across the country have gone up in the last year, and it's due to a variety of factors. In Consumer Watch, Jen Sullivan looks at the rising costs and what you can do to try and save money.
From ravenous wildfires to devastating tornadoes, natural disasters are becoming more frequent and more intense. Last year, there were 27 confirmed weather and climate disasters in the U.S., with losses exceeding $1 billion, according to NOAA. Because of this, many home insurance companies are raising policy rates.
There are more natural disasters happening, and they're affecting more homes.
Holden Lewis with NerdWallet says they recently conducted a survey among homeowners and found 54% said their premiums have gone up in the last 12 months. These rate hikes aren't specific to certain states, it's nationwide.
They end up having to pass along some of those costs to states that might have fewer natural disasters.
State Farm recently raised home insurance rates by an average of 27.2% in Illinois. They say it's because in 2024, for every dollar they collected from policyholders, State Farm paid out $1.26. State Farm said Illinois had the second highest hailstorm damage claims last year, totaling $638 million. Telling CNN in part, accurate risk-based pricing makes sure that insurers like State Farm can pay claims during some of life's toughest moments for policyholders.
Some of the most costly natural disasters are hailstorms.
Inflation and the rising cost of supplies is also contributing to higher premiums. But Lewis says there are things you can do to help lower your rates. Adding roof trusses or upgrading your garage door can help get a better rate. Also installing fire alarms and security systems. And shop around to compare different companies' premiums. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Well, Best Way, Intex, and Poly Group are recalling certain above-ground pools that are 48 inches and taller because of a drowning hazard. Now, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission says straps that wrap around the pools on the outside of supporting poles may create a foothold, allowing a child to access the pool even without a ladder or steps. The agency says it believes 9 children have drowned that way in the pool since 2007. And Uber says it's starting a program to let women passengers pick female drivers or share a ride with other women. Testing of the Women Preferences program is set to begin in the next few weeks in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Detroit. In a statement, Uber said women customers will see an option called Women Drivers in the app. And it's a tongue twister mashup between fast food chain Wendy's and the popular Netflix series Wednesday. The two announced the Wendy's X Wednesday Meal of Misery ahead of the show's season 2 part 1 premiere next month. The meal launches nationwide on August 4th and includes a Raven's Blood Frosty, 4 Inferno-inspired mystery dips of dread, rest in 10-piece nuggets, and cursed and crispy fries. Wednesday fans will also have the chance to win $10,000 through the interactive Escape from Wednesday's Woe game experience on the Wendy's app. The beginning of the show's second season comes to Netflix August 6th. Well, Missourians will soon have a new digital option for estate planning. Governor Mike Kehoe has signed legislation that allows electronic wills to be completely valid and treated like full-fledged wills in the Show Me state. The wills can be signed and witnessed online, but as KOAM's Lonnie Walton reports, a lawyer from Modern Law in Joplin is not entirely in favor of this new law.
I guess I would leave back my car that I have. Not the greatest car, but it's a car.
Michael Dietz is from Carthage, and since he's a resident of the Show Me state, he will be allowed to plan his will digitally.
Thought about making one because I never know when I'm going to die.
Soon, under the new law, Dietz can sign a will in the comfort of his own home. Lawyer Jacob Adamson from Modern Business and Estate Planning Law says it will provide some benefits.
I think you'll start to see prices come down on this type of service. I think it'll be more affordable for rural Missourians, and it'll make the legal system more accessible for those people.
I guess for younger people like me, it'll probably be easier, but for older people like my grandpa, it would not be.
And this is what Adamson is worried about.
I do think it's very important for us to meet face-to-face with our clients, especially the elderly clients. I think it's important to establish that trust and to give them that reassurance that what they're doing is correct.
Adamson says it could hurt law firms in rural areas.
I think what you'll see is there will be a large influx of online-only law firms that will specifically offer this service.
For now, Dietz will keep trying to figure out what assets will go where.
My cash assets, which not very much, but.
Reporting in Joplin, I'm Lonnie Walton, KOAM News.
The new law is set to go into effect on August 28th, and that's it for Consumer Watch this morning. Let's head over to Lindsay for a quick look at your forecast.
Well, it is a gorgeous start to our afternoon at 7th and Range Line. You can see a few clouds moving in, but overall a sunny start. Temperatures in the mid-70s, warming up to the mid-90s today. So we still do have heat advisories for Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, along with counties in Kansas along the Missouri border. Now that extends until this evening. We have a cooler day tomorrow due to some evening showers and thunderstorms, but I'll have those details right after this. Well, this is normally where we would celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but due to some technical difficulties, we're unable to do so today.
Yes, we do apologize. However, we will still be celebrating the birthdays from today, the birthdays and anniversaries tomorrow morning. So be sure to tune in for that. And of course, you can still submit your birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com. When you submit, be sure to meet the deadline at the bottom of your screen and to also please include the date of your celebration when submitting as well. Let's head over now to Lindsay for a quick look at the forecast.
Well, you can see downtown Pittsburgh, clear skies this morning. Overall, pretty nice day. Still pretty light traffic out there. I mean, it is only about 7 a.m., so we've got another couple of hours before traffic starts to flood the area. Now, 7th and Range Line, I wanted to show this because it is just a gorgeous picture of our morning sunrise. We've got the clear skies, a few clouds moving in. Nothing too bad out there so far today. We do still have heat advisories issued for Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, along with a couple of counties in Kansas right along our Missouri border. That extends until tonight. Then it expires. We do have a cooler day tomorrow, so we'll likely not see any more get extended until Saturday. Now, we'll have a few more clouds being pushed through the area all the way moving northeast, and then we're back to sunny skies. Now you can see got a few showers popping up out there just to the west of us. Now, a few more showers are out towards the west of Wichita. They could barely clipped some of our western counties this morning, but we're really looking at storms later on this evening. Now, current conditions in Joplin, or in Pittsburgh, 73 degrees out there, and it feels like 73, which is a nice start to our morning, but it's not long-lived. Dew points are in the 70s, well, out there in south of I-44, mid-60s, so not too bad out there. Anything 65 and greater, we're looking at pretty humid conditions. So that's what we're going to be seeing for most of the day, which is why our heat index is going to be so high today, even though temperatures are in the mid-90s. Now, currently, because humidity is a little bit lower as we head through this morning, it still feels like what the actual temperature is, except taking a look out in Neodesha, Yates Center, Iola, a little bit warmer than the actual temperature. Now, for the rest of the morning, temperatures warm up pretty quickly. 89 degrees by 11 a.m., so we're getting to near 90 just before noon, and then 95 for our high. Now, heat index could be up to 104 in some areas. Isolated afternoon thunderstorms, like I said, we saw those on the radar. We could see a few making it this morning. Now, as we head through the rest of the afternoon, like I said, a couple of areas could see heat indices as high as 104. Most of us 99, 100, 101 out in Lamar, Carthage, 103 in Parsons, Independence, Nowata, Welsh, Veneta. So further out west, we're getting to the 101 or 103 degree range. Now, those showers push through later on this evening. A front moves in. We're going to see cooler temperatures, cooler heat indices for Friday, which is why we're not likely going to see a heat advisory extended on Friday, because we're really only seeing heat index values all the way up to about 100. Baxter Springs, Miami, Fort Scott. The rest of us are staying in the upper 90s. Not too bad for Friday, but we do warm up really quickly back into the hundreds by Saturday. Now, heading through the rest of the afternoon, again, could see a couple of isolated showers southeastern Kansas, but those re-fire up later on this afternoon. They'll push into southeastern Kansas and along some of our northern counties as well. You can also see a bit of a gust front there, that little light green line just outside of the region. Now that's what we're going to be expecting for most of the evening. You can see still getting into the evening and into Friday morning. So we've got these shower chances that linger till Friday morning, keeping us a bit cooler Friday. Then sunny skies and warm temperatures return for the weekend. Now coming up when the KOAM Morning News switches on over to Fox 14, a children's hospital therapist creates Camp Rock, where kids with limb differences climb to new heights and build self-confidence.
Well, this is your Wake Up recap for July 24th. The top stories to start your day. A standoff with Joplin police ends with 2 men in custody. Mark Treese of Carthage and Sean Gillis of Webb City refused to cooperate with officers, which led to a standoff in the parking lot of Pinnacle Bank on Range Line. After some time, both men were taken into custody without incident. Treese was arrested for multiple warrants from Joplin and Carthage. Gillis was arrested for resisting arrest and failing to comply with an officer. And authorities filed formal charges against 39-year-old Jared Query of Fort Scott in a DUI crash that injured a PSU softball player. He's now charged with aggravated battery while driving under the influence. He's accused in a crash that injured PSU softball player Kendall Forbes in Bourbon County, Kansas, Sunday night. And there's still plenty of spots open at the KOAM sponsored Boots, Badges and Bandages blood drive with Joplin first responders happening tomorrow. It's your chance to help support those in need during a critical time of the year. Every donor receives a first responders t-shirt, a Super Splash Day passport with $45 and enters to win a $10,000 dream vacation. That's a check of today's Wake Up Recap.
Well, we have thunderstorm chances this evening, and those linger until Friday. Non-severe. Could get some gusty winds out there. That's going to cool us down a bit on Friday, with heat indices today reaching low hundreds, about 104 as a max, and tomorrow only about 100. So a little bit cooler on Friday, but then obviously those temperatures return right back up to the upper 90s for the weekend.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making steakhouse salad in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. This morning, are you ready for retirement? Jill will be here to make sure you take the right steps so you can enjoy your golden years.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, Joplin first responders need your help tomorrow at the Boots, Badges, and Bandages blood drive.
Plus, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia creates a camp where kids with different learn new skills. But that'll wrap it up for now. We'll be back here tomorrow at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.